Some people have a great childhood. Some get to throw the football around with their dads on those warm summer afternoons, or they get to bake with their mothers, licking the icing off of the spoons before the dish goes into the oven. Others aren't so joyful. You'll hear about the traumas, and sometimes abuse that goes on in the household, mentally and physically scarring the child throughout their adulthood. For me, neither of those two scenarios were present. My childhood was all but normal. I won't use real names in this story, so I'll introduce myself as Joey. I'm 19 and from the part of New York most people won't talk about. As far as mothers goes, I can say mine was loving. She always had dinner ready for me, helped me with my homework, and even gave me extra snacks in my lunch box. On the surface she could have been an extra for that old TV show The Brady Bunch. She had normal features. She stood about 5 feet 7 inches, long blonde hair, and regularly went to the gym. So without sounding too weird, she had the figure that would drive the local people in a frenzy when she'd walk past. She was always well-mannered in public. I guess her southern Texas charm really had its effects on the native New York residents. I couldn't bring a friend home for a video game session without them falling madly in love with how nice and beautiful she was. However, the old saying stands true, that looks are only skin deep. One side of her was absolutely radiant, the other side, well, that was a portion nobody else knew about. I never saw her out of character when she got frustrated. She would do those Zen breathing techniques that would calm her whenever she became rattled. The one time I saw her lose her cool was the last time I seen my father. Apparently an 8-year-old Joey wasn't good enough to keep his father from leaving after one argument. But that's a therapy session for another story. Back to the task at hand. Even though my mother could have had any men she wanted, she would make a regular residence on dating apps. Tinder, Hinge, even those more hush-hush apps that were for hookup only. She would have steady likes and swipes, yet no one seemed good enough for her. It was carved into my mind that none of them would equal up to showing her the love I did. Being her only boy, and now the man of the house, put a strain on her perception of what a relationship of unconditional love should feel like. Now this isn't going where you may think it is. We're not Alabama folks. If I recall, it was the spring semester of my senior year in high school. Finally I had made it to the home stretch. No more books, no more learning. Just me and Twitch. I know, I've listened to too many how-to videos on how to get rich quick. But it was a passion of mine. I was a solid A and B student, so college really didn't pique my interest. I was more so ready to retire when I was 25, and laid up on a beach with a woman that was way out of my league. Sipping tequila sunrises, watching all of my peers struggle at their 9-to-5s. But hey, a boy can dream, right? The usual day consisted of me watching the clock like a hawk, awaiting the 3 p.m. bell so I could hurry home and play some Rocket League. Today, however, seemed to drag on forever, way longer than most. It was my last class of the day, and I for some odd reason had chosen advanced calculus for my elective class. Math was my jam though. I could breeze through it with my eyes closed. While the teacher was giving us our final assignment of the day, which I had finished earlier in the class hour block, my phone lit up. A text message. But who from? No one had my number, and I didn't have a reason for any bill collectors to contact me. I picked it up and it was from Mom. It read, "Hey honey, before you come home can you pick up some trash bags and zip ties?" A weird request, but I paid it no mind. I was her after-school running boy. But anything to help around the house. That is until I hire someone to do it for me. The final bell rang, and I was off to the races. I hopped on my 10-speed and raced to our nearest dollar store. I remembered the new Superman comic had just hit the shelves, so I figured a quick peek inside our comic book store wouldn't hurt any. I was only in there for a few minutes when another vibration lit up my pocket. It was Mom again. She asked if I had gotten her shopping list done, and if so I should hurry home. This sounded urgent. Was the trash stacked up to the roof? No, I had cleaned my room and the living area before I left out this morning. What was her rush? Nonetheless, I put the comic down and headed towards the store. I got what she needed and was headed out the door before another text came through. This one was in all caps, so I knew she was serious. "Hurry up and get home, I need you now." It read. Something was off. She had never spoken to me like this before. What could be going on that was so urgent? Our apartment was about a block away, so I knew I could make it there in no time. When I arrived, the sight that dawned my eyes was that of a true crime horror story. Blood. So much blood. Everywhere. On the ceiling, the walls, some on the carpet. My mother loved that carpet. What happened? Who was to blame for this? I couldn't hold my composure. It caught me by surprise, and made me throw up in the bag I had the zip ties and trash bags in. Mom. Mom. What the hell? Mom, I yelled. She urged me to keep my voice down and close the door before someone heard me, or walked by. Without a breath or a hesitant movement, she instructed me on what to do. She pointed to the bleach in the shelf, and told me to douse it all over the blood-stained living room. We had to get it so clean, someone could eat off the floors. I was horrified, but I did as she said. It took about 3 hours to get the place looking as good as we could. If the police were to show, they wouldn't be able to detect any foul play, at least from the naked eye. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. Why was there someone else's blood all over our apartment? No time to question anything, as there was still more work to do. She took my hand and guided me to the kitchen floor. There lied a motionless body. A taller man, maybe about 6 feet 2 inches, and looked like he played for the New York Knicks. How did this barely 130-pound woman overpower him? Those questions would have to wait. There was still so much to do. She had one of those electric knives that would saw through a ham, turkey, or anything else that required heavy-duty work. With a blank stare, she instructed me to take the smaller limbs first. Those were the easiest to take off. Once I was done with those, then go for the femur, shoulder, all the harder, thicker joints. Cut them clean though, we don't want to make more of a mess. Who was this woman? Surely this wasn't the Southern belle that had raised me all these years. She reminded me not to forget to wear one of her plastic aprons. And here I thought those were just for special Barbie question. I threw the apron on as fast as I could and got to work. Logical thinking told me to report this to the authorities and get myself out of being an accomplice to murder. But could I really send my mother to prison for 30 or more years? Even so, could I do it without knowing the whole story of what happened? No. That wasn't how this was going to go. Little by little we took a man who was a complete giant, and made it so he fit in 3 trash bags. We bleached the kitchen down just like we did in the living room, until it was spotless. Now I needed those answers. Mom, you need to tell me what happened and why there is a guy stuffed into our trash bags, I asked. She looked down at the floor as she sat at the bar stool that was in front of our counter. Well, hun, I'm sure you've seen those dating apps I've been on here lately. They were fun at first, but I've been getting all the same kinds of guys. All they want is sex. I want them to be a man like you are, but they are all the same. I couldn't take it anymore. I was going to delete them all until Henry here started talking to me. He was so polite through the text. Asked me how my day was, told me good morning and good night. He even took me out to lunch a few times while you were in school, she replied with tears starting to cover her ocean blue eyes. I finally invited him over, but he turned out to be just like the others. Just a sex-crazed dog, and what do we do with sick dogs, Joey? We take them to the shed and put them down. Right then her whole tone changed. No more tears, just rage. She started smiling. Not the warm, wholesome smile she usually carried. This one was colder, more sinister than I had ever seen. She continued with her speech. I sat him down and offered him some tea, asked if he liked sweet or unsweetened. While he sat there on the couch, I couldn't think about anything other than how your father was. If I would have given this man my body, he would have left, and would have did the same thing to another woman. I couldn't bear it, Joey. So I put him down. I took your grandma's urn and struck him. Before I knew it, he was on the ground, begging for help. But would he have helped me, Joey? Would he have texted me in the morning? No. He would have sat me out like yesterday's trash. So I made him just that. Trash. This woman. She had the same face as my mother, the same eyes, the same twang. But this wasn't my mother. A few weeks had passed and there was no mention of the missing person. He apparently wasn't from the area, so there was no family or friends looking for him. No posters or Amber Alerts. Did we get away with it? Was this the light at the end of the tunnel? Things had went back to normal. Well, as normal as could be. I still had it in the back of my mind that I had disposed of a man, and didn't even get a chance to shake his hand, or have a conversation with him. The day proceeded as normal. I had taken more to Rocket League than before. It seemed to be my only source of solitude at the time. Right before the bell rang, I got a text. It was from Mom again. Please be a call for milk, or to see what I want for dinner. No. It was the distress call to pick up more supplies. Again, Mom. I said to myself. I didn't argue. I skipped the comic book store this time and went straight for the goods. Even picked up an extra 2 gallons of bleach. The shock factor was gone this time. It was straight to business. I cut, she cleaned, we both disposed. This time we even ate Chinese after. Does this make me a bad person? The thought that my mother was doing this to protect other women. Was it so bad that I just wanted her to be happy? This continued until graduation. The same types of guys, no family or friends nearby. Seemed like tourists that were just looking for a good time. As graduation came and went, I found myself on Tinder and Grindr. I'm by no means gay, but I was curious to know what was out there. I soon found out that my mom was right. There were no good people out there in the world. They just wanted to use and abuse. How many countless men were going to be put through this? The deception and lies, for personal gain. I couldn't stomach knowing that I would be the one to let them back onto the streets. I guess another saying that holds its weight is, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I consider myself sort of a vigilante when it comes to the dating scene. I look for love, but in return all I find are those same sick dogs that need to be put down. Me and Mother have a new family tradition. It's more so a family sport. We weed out the bad apples so you all won't have to put up with the heartache. So in conclusion, you're all welcome. One by one we are making the world a more livable place. We are making the world a more livable place. We are making